Yeah, yeah. You kidding me? You weren't not metaphorically. You really the ceiling. Oh,
We could switch
Did you
things
get
around
hit?
if Jonathan's a little late.
yeah. Hey, living large. Did the ceiling hit you and your wife? Oh, I'm sorry, Deans. Yeah, but I can. Yeah, been there. Yeah. Jeez. Oh. Did you hear this? What you saying? Son left the
Oh, yeah, she's
window
the,
open and put the AC on.
Jeff Reagan,
And
she's the,
pan overfilled.
yeah, they're very interested in how we're actually,
Been there and done
Southwest
that.
wants to plant issues, because they had
Pulled
millions
the
of dollars
ceiling
tied up in
fell down where he and his wife were.
Well, mine, the little pump that's inside, there's a little pump inside those pans or
Sure, yeah,
something.
yeah.
Mine, it didn't work, didn't come on.
Yeah.
Brand new. He says, well, you know, every now and then we get one that doesn't work. And I thought, well, you know, that doesn't make me feel any better. What's to say the next
You
one?
have to pay $10,100 instead of just $10,000. I know.
Did you need this?
No, of course not. I
I can't imagine you would, but
Yeah. No. That's a complaint I have. You know, we paid $48 million for this new building here. I cannot get the coffee machine up and the commissioner's thing to work for the life of me. Poor clerks are just so tired of me, you know. I have to unplug it and plug it in and then hit it in the right number of things. Just give me a damn, careful, a drip thing. That's all I want.
you got a Keurig?
Yeah, it's a
Is that
Keurig.
what Keurig is?
Yeah, but it's this fancy thing. It's got a
It's
permanent, water thing in it.
Get started.
Yeah, and it doesn't work. And they won't let me buy a new one.
Alice, the mother of my children, I would have been
That's mine. I'm gonna look it all over it. That's
I said,
amazing.
well, let me look at it.
Oh my
She said, I've
gosh.
already
I'm
bought
gonna
a
look
new
it
one.
all over.
So I'll take it because I'm a good coffee.
Yeah, right.
Every time, every now and then somebody did the house, I took it down to the house and I am not a DIY guy.
Yeah, right.
But I just took away the parts that easily came on, and there was a little filter inside, and I just kind of cleaned it a little bit. It looks like a brand new.
All right, we're going to call the meeting to order. It's 9 o'clock, so we're going to get going. We do have a quorum. We need to excuse Mr. Hollis, Mr. Corder, Commissioner Burfield, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think that, for the moment.
Marco said he would be here.
Yeah. We're expecting him, but we need a motion to excuse those 3
So
gentlemen.
moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have a lot of awards and a recognition this morning, so we're going to skip ahead to the Utility of the Future Award. So Beth, you got this.
Nicest guy.
Into the corner of the wall, sorry. Good morning, everybody. This is one of those really good days where we get to recognize our staff. This is a Utility of the Future Today Award. And what this is an organization-wide award, even though there is a central focus of what the application was a primary target area. It also takes into account all of the various aspects of your organizational culture and the various different aspects of the organization. So it is an organizational-wide. So we'll have people come up here from all areas of the department. You see our audience is very full today. So, and this is why, because we do have multiple awards and things to go over today. And we're very proud of all of our staff and what we do. So, CFPUA has been awarded. I'm going to call people up first. Then I'm going to tell you what it's about. That way they can stand up here longer than just up and pose for a picture, okay? So we got Aaron Tremblay. Y'all want to come up here whenever I call your name? We have Aaron Tremblay, Sydney Valiant, Danielle Smith, Matt Hypes, Scott Solari, Corey Williams, Colin Whitehead, Angelo Walker, Jack Walsh, Stephen Mowry, Lauren Friedley, Jeremy Sneed, Jason Scott, Blake Eady, Crystal Callahan, Zach Kelly, Kevin Jordan, Nate Davis, Jody Taylor, Angela Walker, Tara Arnett, Holly Piero, Carly Cato, Lori McCoy, Kelsey Monjo, Ethan Walters, Elizabeth Sievert, Polly Irvin, Shannon Clayboss, James Rittman, and Edward Harper. So, I say, and these staff represent every area from our finance and HR departments to engineering departments to water, wastewater, collections, distributions, pump stations, the lab, our sustainability groups, our my compliance person is show, but they're represented too because we're here. So anyway, so we have people from every area, customer service, and if I forgot to call any of the areas, I apologize. But we have people from all areas because it is an organizational award that is, and we are presented with the flag that we can fly very proudly. And I'm going to read to you a little bit about what this is about. So this year, CFPUA has been awarded the Utility of the Future Today Award by the Water Environment Federation for watershed stewardship at this year's WEFTEC conference, which recognizes utilities that are actively transforming their operations to achieve long-term sustainability and efficiencies. This award is in recognition of our commitment to protecting and preserving our vital water resources, highlighting our efforts in source water protection goals, strategies, and accomplishments. The application also showcased our utilities' dedication to environmental stewardship through greenhouse gas reporting, resiliency planning, and maintaining our effluent standards at our wastewater treatment facilities. In addition, the award recognized CFPUA's organizational culture and workforce development and discussed how CFPUA is an anchor institution through our affordability and bill assistance programs, as well as assisting with our water supply issues outside of just our customer base throughout the county. So this award reflects the hard work and collaboration of our organization through all departments and divisions, as well as the support provided by you, the board. We as a team work daily toward improving our efficiencies and effectiveness and continue to champion sustainability, safeguard our water resources, while fostering a culture of innovation and stewardship. The following staff, which we called out beforehand, so we got a little out of order, but I like to have everybody up here and let them get the recognition that they deserve. So, like I said, they represent all of the areas of our organization. I'm proud to work with these people, and you got a lot of great people up here to lead this organization for a very long time.
Here, here.
So, Kenny, you want a picture before we, where'd she go? There she is. Guys, y'all come over here. I know you want a picture.
Be careful. Thank you.
If y'all get to come in and kind of like get in, stoop down a little bit. I'll get it. I'm good. Y'all want to come in?
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you, everybody. And I'd like to thank the board for the opportunity to recognize our staff for their hard work this year.
Yeah. Nice way to start off a meeting. Okay, well, so we have some more. Now we're going to do some Hurricane Helene recognition as well. So, Ken, this is you.
Yep.
He's on his way? Okay, well.
So I'd like to ask the following employees to join me to my right. Robert Daltrey, Tara Arnett, Beth Eckert, Craig Malone, Ed Harper, James Rickman, Colin Whitehead, Zach Kelly, Jody Taylor, Nate Davis, Kevin Jordan. I think I've named all 12 individuals that we seek to honor here. If I've missed somebody, please come up and we'll correct that. Scott Solari, I'm sorry, I missed that. Scott, where are you? Thank you, thank you, thank you. I've got you inside the notes. Thank you, Scott. For the water and general infrastructure sector, Hurricane Helene was the most destructive storm in North Carolina history. The storm and its aftermath caused 1,400 landslides and damaged over 160 water and sewer systems. At least 6,000 miles of roads and more than 1,000 bridges and culverts were damaged, with an estimated 126,000 homes destroyed or damaged. The storm also took 100 lives. Now, CFPUA is a founding member of North Carolina Water Warn, our state's water and wastewater response and mutual aid network. Hurricane Helene made landfall on Friday, September 27th, and by Sunday, the 29th, CFPUA staff were mobilizing crews and materials to deploy to our neighbors on Wednesday, October 2nd. CFPUA employees Robert Daltrey, Tara Arnett, Beth Eckert, and Craig Malone physically manned the NC Waterborne desk at the State Emergency Operations Center in Raleigh for approximately 22 10 to 16 hour shifts between landfall and when the EOC went remote on October 26. They are still supporting coordination efforts by manning this desk remotely. This team coordinated efforts for 17 North Carolina utilities, providing 57 emergency response missions to 14 impacted communities, including the region's largest utilities, the City of Asheville and Buncombe MSD. And to put that in perspective, before Hurricane Helene, the largest NC waterborne response was Hurricane Florence at 5 deployments. So it was a factor of 10 in terms of infrastructure deployments, larger. Our security and emergency manager directly assisted Asheville Water being remotely deployed to Asheville and the surrounding communities of Hot Springs, Spruce Pine, and Burnsville in western North Carolina from October 31st to November 8th. IT employee Scott Solari assisted with IT support for the state of North Carolina itself, the Western Branch Command Center, from October 3rd to the 6th. And our collections department crew, Ed Hopper and James Rickman, loaded materials and supplies with assistance of other CFPUA staff from both collections and construction and delivered those materials to Asheville on October 2nd. Along the way, they picked up more supplies from other utilities. Finally, pump station supervisor Colin Whitehead, pump station crew foreman Zach Kelly, pump station operator Jody Taylor, pump station crew foreman Nate Davis, and utility maintenance technician Kevin Jordan organized and led the effort to directly support the town of Hendersonville by completing 61 site assessments, 50 water, and 11 sewer. They made numerous repairs throughout, including restarting faulty equipment, repairing SCADA equipment, and restoring site communication, even clearing roads. So on behalf of CFPUA and our board, I want to thank you all for your service to North Carolina, to CFPUA, and our western neighbors.
Ken, would it be possible for each person to tell us their name? So, because you mentioned all those names, and unfortunately, I don't know exactly who all are. Should they?
Absolutely. I'll ask each of them to introduce themselves.
And their department.
And your departments. Thank you. please introduce yourself, starting here.
I'm Kevin Jordan with Pump Station Tech.
My name is Edward Harper, right-of-way crew foreman.
Scott Solari, Senior IT Tech.
Robert Daughtry, Assistant Operations Director.
James Rickman, Senior Collections Equipment Operator.
And Tara Arnett, Sustainability and Safety Manager.
Colin Whitehead, Pump Station Supervisor.
Zach Kelly, Pump Station Crew Foreman.
Nate Davis, Pump Station's crew foreman.
Jody Taylor, Pump Station Operator.
And Craig Malone, our emergency manager, couldn't be here because he's actually traveling westward to help organize the state's debrief and hot wash on the entire issue, which I will be traveling to myself after this meeting. And of course, let's not forget Beth Eckert, who helped lead and organize the entire effort on our behalf.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks. Great work. Thanks. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right, thank each and every one of you. I have been on a hurricane response team, and I understand the time and stress it takes on people, and we appreciate the time you spent away from your families, away from your community, but supporting our neighbors in need. So thank you very much. All right, now we're going to move back to Commissioner Barfield. We have some recognition for you, if you would come forward. So we have a resolution honoring Commissioner Barfield's service to the authority, so I'm going to read the whole thing. So, whereas the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority is a body politic organized in July 2007 by the City of Wilmington and New Hanover County to own and operate the water and sewer authorities for the sewer utilities for the county and city, and whereas in 2019, the county appointed Jonathan Barfield Jr. as a commissioner representative to CFPUA. And whereas Mr. Barfield has continuously served on the board of directors since that time. And whereas Mr. Barfield has served as the chair of the Communications Committee and has served on the Human Resources Committee. And whereas Mr. Barfield has consistently supported CFPUA employees, growth in their careers, and their dignity and well-being in the workplace and in the community. And whereas Mr. Barfield has shown his commitment to planned, orderly growth and the construction of affordable housing, and has supported CFPUA's role in the community to provide utility services to homeowners in an affordable manner. And whereas Mr. Barfield has demonstrated his belief that all residents in our region receive clean, high-quality water and reliable wastewater services, having been instrumental in providing water to underserved communities with possible well contamination. Now, therefore, the board and staff do formally recognize and thank Jonathan Barfield Jr. for his exemplary service as a member of the Cape Fear Public Utility Authority, adopted today.
It has truly been an honor to serve on this board. When I got elected in 2008, 2009, I definitely wanted to be on this board then, and then I saw all the heck that was going on because it was newly formed with rates going up, and my wife said, Jonathan, don't get on that board, don't get on that board. But I recognize that this organization is doing great work in our community, making sure that our community has clean, safe drinking water. And to me, it was important that I be a part of that and to help make it what it is today. One of the best things I think this organization has done is hiring Ken Waldron. This book I like to read by John Maxwell says that everything rises and falls on leadership, and by selecting the right leader of the organization, this organization is going by, changed by leaps and bounds. For the employees here, thank you for the work that you all do. I see some of the crews out there late at night, making sure that water connections are done because of a break in the line. so that folks can have water in their homes, be able to drink water, flush their toilets. You know, it's amazing the dedication and commitment that you all have. And so again, thank you all for allowing me to be here on your board for the last 4 or 5 years. Commissioner Rob Zappel, one of my great friends there, Charlie Robinbart, Luke Duke, as I call Luke here. Some folks I've really got to know quite well. Jessica, I've gotten to know this young man on the end over here quite well. And last year at the Home Builders Awards Banquet, just having a newfound respect for you, my friend. But again, thank you all for allowing me to serve on your board. Our great chair of our board, she has led in an extraordinary way over the last several years. I'm honored to be here as well with you all. And keep on doing the great work here. Keep on making sure that people have clean, safe drinking water in our community. And God bless you all.
And as, we actually need a motion to formally adopt the resolution, so I need a motion in a second. All those in favor say aye. All right, there we go. Okey-dokey. All right. Moving on to the minutes, Dr. Cannon.
We have our minutes from our last meeting in November in your, November in your packet. And if there's no discussion, we'll take a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. No public comments, Jenny? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. So we have a number of items on the consent agenda. Any questions, comments?
I've got a few.
Okay, go ahead.
I just noticed that on A, the bids came in almost 25% over the engineer's estimated cost. And there was only, I guess, less than 2 months between the time that estimate was put together and the bids came in. And I was wondering if anybody, we have some input from the engineering consultant as to why this cost was so much higher.
Gary, do you have anything to report that you'd like to come to the podium to report on that?
You know, I knew I liked that guy. Yeah.
Mr. Smith and Board, this project was actually bid initially back in the summertime, and we didn't get a good bid response, and the bids were significantly higher. We didn't have 3, and the bids were significantly higher than we had now. And so rather than rebid it, our project manager collaborated with the engineering company to rework the project a little bit to make it more cost effective. And we ground it through our value engineering processes. And so we put it out to bid again. And the bids came in, and because we didn't have 3 bids, we had to rebid it again. And so this is what the marketplace today describes the value of the project. We are having a lot of challenges from a standpoint of similar to what we're seeing in our largest project. There's so much competition out there, for contractors that it's really hard to stay on top of the estimates. I would say that to the credit of the engineers here, they did sharpen their pencils after the first bids, do some value engineering. I don't have the number for what it was earlier, but it was significantly higher than this. And so we stand ready with any other questions.
I think what you heard is the summary is we have a volatile bidding market because there is more work than contractors to provide the work. So our engineers are having a hard time putting their finger on what the final bid will be for any design bid build project. That's why we're moving to progressive design build.
Question. This is an issue that's been growing and growing and continuing. Maybe at a certain point, we may want to stop and reconsider how we do business. One of the most irritating parts about this is we are paying engineers for their opinion and not insignificant amounts of money that they turn around and don't have to take responsibility for, other than to say we're in a volatile market. Is there a way to hold them accountable, the engineers who we pay for their opinion, if they are off by a certain percentage? You know, I don't know how that would work, but I think that this has been going on long enough that we need to look at reevaluating how we're doing these bids, because it feels like we're just a big punching bag. We put an opinion out there, we hire people to give us an opinion, and it turns around and goes 25, 40, in some cases 100% more than what they said. And everyone goes, well, it's just the way it is. It doesn't have to be that way.
Well, Commissioner, one of the things we do is we evaluate engineers' performances before we select them, because that's part of a qualifications-based performance. I think this truly is a market that in over a 30-year career, I've never seen anything like it. One of the things that we have done is, if you'll recall, for a lot of the big water main extension projects into existing neighborhoods, that we've come to the board and asked permission to do design build guaranteed maximum price.
Yes.
And so, of course, this project was all framed up before that. Another thing we're planning on doing is having as many of our project managers trained and certified in design build techniques as possible, so that, you know, while that is a more favorable, in the market that's a more favorable means, that our project managers and staff will be in position to be able to manage those projects as we are managing Southside. And so from a staff perspective, we're with you. We have some significant bids coming in on the Next Frontier project on the 20th that we are planning on bringing to your board on the 6th and this board on the 8th. And so once again, those are subject to, you know, design bid build. And so we've done everything we can, and we're hopeful. And for that, staff has called and contacted 8 different contractors to encourage them to bid. And so we're, you know, tactically doing everything we can to prevent this from happening.
Gary, thank you for that, you know, some of the thinking process that's going in. But I've got to say, at a certain point, the patience of this board will run thin or out. And I don't hope for it, but there'll be one day when you'll bring forward some of these estimates that have gone so far out of whack, and we'll simply say, no. That's part of our job as the fiscal controllers of this organization. So whatever we can do to tighten up the bidding process and holding accountable those people whose job it is to look at that and to give us reasonable bids, I would, you know, move forward quickly. That's all I can say.
Yes, sir.
Duly noted, sir. We'll take that under advisement.
You know, the way it starts, you know, being an engineer for CFPUA is different than being an engineer for a private engineering firm. I mean, we don't go out and do the construction. We take advice from people, and we put the RFP together, and we have an estimated window of money that we're looking at. And when it comes back and it is 10, 15, 20, 25% higher, you know, then you value engineer, you get back like you alluded to a while ago, and you cut stuff, or you some way, shape, or form, you trim it back. But I don't think you can lay the blame or what have you. Our impatience is one thing, but that's the reality, is what's going on out there in the marketplace. It just is. Am I wrong on that? Dean, am I wrong on that?
No, sir, but we sense a frustration with rising prices
Well,
and
everybody
the projects
does.
that we're doing. So we will probably bring back to you a CIP that looks very different in reaction to the reality of this market, and as a means of trying to control the escalation of cost.
I don't remember in my 24 years on city council and however long I've been on this, if I'm wrong, I'm sure somebody will point it out. I never remember a bid coming back that was what we sent out, what the RFP called for. I mean, that's wishful thinking that it's going to be. I think we put it out there what we'd like for it to be and what's in our budget, but when it comes back, and especially when you've got multiple bids, when you got one or two, it's a little different, but when you've got multiple bids and you're talking about 8 different companies out there, and you're right, they're busy. All these maintenance contractors and these folks are busy, so, it is frustrating, but, we can lose our patience, but at the end of the day, we've got to get the work done.
I think I brought this up because we don't like surprises. We go into it with what we feel like is the engineer's estimate of probable cost. And they know what's happening in the marketplace and how the low number of bidders affects the cost. And I don't know why that's not factored into when they present us with an engineer's estimate. They, 25% overage and more is just not acceptable. It's too much of a surprise. And I say this, as you know, having spent 50 years in the consulting business, and 10% is a reasonable expectation, I think.
So, having taken the feedback, and we're going to take it in, and we're going to make use of it, let's bring back to long-range planning some strategies on how we might address future overages in terms of whether we actually bring them forward for the board to approve, or whether we consider setting aside the project or redesigning the project. In this case, staff made the staff decision to redesign, and I support that. But we probably should involve long-range planning more when these things occur, so you can help us understand where this particular project should land. And to reiterate, the performance of the engineer will be remembered and considered in future selections based on qualifications. So this miss will not be forgotten when we are selecting future engineer based on qualifications.
To that point, who is the engineer on this particular project?
I believe that's W.K. Dixon, sir.
Okay. Thank you. W.K. Dixon, yeah.
Any other questions, Mr. Smith?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
No.
on another- okay.
I've got just a point of information. I noticed in C, when I looked at the cost from Duke, they put sales tax, and are we subject to sales tax?
Would you like to answer that question?
So we do pay sales tax. Is this on? Okay. We do pay sales tax, but we basically book it as a receivable, and we file annually with the State Department of Revenue, and they pay it back to us. So yes and no. So there's kind of a short-term, cash flow out, but we get it back once a year.
And that is the process for local governments.
Yeah.
What a great deal for Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They need all the help they can get.
yeah, I had comments about that in finance. They were kind of doing their work for them, with a smile.
And in finance, I promised we would return the courtesy when it occurred,
Yeah.
and it will occur.
Yes, it will.
Just, this is last one. Okay, but it's a two for.
Two-parter?
It's, relates to D and E. And I noticed these lump sums, or these amounts of money, are the same for this coming year as they were for last year. So is that amount of money, that's what they draw against? As obviously they're there to fix things as they break in a timely manner, but was all the money from last year, from this past year, used?
No, and I can answer this question. When you're thinking about these two contracts, think about our workforce that Robert Daltrey manages, our field staff in asset management on the water side and the sewer side. They have a base load of reactive repair and preventative repair. And beyond that base load, based on safety and complexity, we will use either this find it, fix it contract, or we'll use an emergency repair contract. A little bit, emergency repair is a little bit like triage, find it, fix it is like surgery. And if we discover something that is beyond both of those contracts, then it rolls into the CIP as a more permanent repair. So this is part of our work portfolio. And how much we find or how many emergencies we might have over time fluctuates. We have the last 5 years of both of these contracts. We'd be glad to provide that to you so you can see the actual expenditures. And we tried to trend these contracts fairly closely to the trend of repairs.
Yeah. The only reason I asked the question was if the actual costs came under this thing, then these are reasonable amounts in there. If they were over that, then I would have thought it would be more than last year. That's all. I understand how it works. The contract works.
For right now, my understanding is they're both a little under, but these are very volatile.
Sure.
So we could, for example, and I hope we don't, but we could discover a major interceptor that needs both emergency repair and then some short-term, what I'd call meatball surgery, to keep in line until we could do long-term repair. These contracts are set up for that purpose.
I understand. Thank you.
Would you like us to provide to you in the weekly update the last 5 years so you can see the trend?
No, sir. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if I could make a comment on that. Mr. Smith, you make my heart sing with those questions.
I'm happy to do that.
I appreciate it. On this particular ones too, I would, yeah, no. These, if you go through the specific contracts I have there, frankly, I think we're really lucky in this area to have these companies pick up these, the find it, fix it, and the emergency repairs. It's unbelievable what they're required to do. And I mean, 24 hours a day, having to respond in a major way within a certain time frame, and less than 4 hours, when you have a major project, which we're just really lucky to have it, and they have performed really well, my understanding, over the last, I think this is their second or third renewal on an annual basis. So, again, I've asked similar questions, again, in finance, and boy, I walked away with a really positive impression of these, and even beyond that. We are lucky to have it. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, can I have?
Madam
go
Chair.
ahead.
Yeah. Item G, and I want to apologize. I probably should have brought this up in Finance Committee, but I missed it. Specific to the chemical fluorosilicic acid, I believe we have a presentation later in the meeting scheduled.
It's just informational.
But that's informational only.
It's just information.
Just information.
Right. And so I guess, and that was at the request of Commissioners Apple and myself, and no action is probably scheduled to be taken on that, I would assume, but it's informational, and some action may end up being taken in the not-too-distant future, potentially. So would it be possible to either continue item G, is that, not in its entirety, but maybe just pull that
Let's
one?
pull it from the consent agenda.
Just pull G from the consent agenda?
Yep.
All right, so moved.
Or until,
I mean, maybe until the end of the meeting, or until a subsequent meeting, if that's not going to bump every, I mean, there's a lot of items on G, not just, but specific to fluorosilic. I don't want to throw off operations, obviously.
Why don't we move it to item Roman numeral 7 in my reports.
okay. Motion to pull G from the consent agenda.
So moved.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, if no other questions on the consent agenda, motion to approve all of
So
them,
moved.
with the
Second.
exception of G. Motion by Ms. Redenberg, second by Mr. Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to new business, administrative reports, attorney's report.
I just have 2 items to report on. Last week, I attended the North Carolina DEQ PFAS meeting that was held downtown. Thank you for Dr. Cannon, Commissioner Zappel, and also to Council Member David Joyner for also being there and representing our community. The following day, our lobbyists attended the same meeting in Raleigh to make sure that we can get all the comments that have been presented at any of these hearings. We will be submitting written comments to NCDEQ regarding this PFAS issue. If I can take a point of personal privilege, I would like to introduce the board to our newest hire within the legal department, Deputy Authority Attorney Brittany Spell. If she could come up and come forward and just say a few words about herself.
Thank you. Yeah, she said I'm Brittany McKim Spell. I am coming from PPD. The last 4 years I've been in-house surveyor, but before that I was a public defender. So I started my career in public service, and I'm very pleased to be back. This was such a cool day to be able to come and see a board meeting and see you guys representing and recognizing people for the hard work that they've been doing, and I'm excited to contribute. So.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
We're very excited to have Brittany on our team and welcome you all to introduce yourselves to her after the meeting. And no items for closed session.
All right, thanks. Executive Director's report.
Yes, so under the Executive Director's report, you now have 5 standing reports. That's the key indicators report, the safety report, the environmental report, the strategic plan update, and the economic development projects update. On that last one, I'd note that we have modified it again to try to respond to questions. I'd asked for feedback on all 5. Any questions or concerns with those reports?
Just one point, again, showing the flows into the wastewater treatment plants and the spike in August, and I asked if staff has looked into feasibility of putting inserts into the manholes to minimize inflows.
Yes. We're going to do a weekly update report on that, but we actually do use manhole inserts at this time and have for quite a bit of time. We've been through several iterations of types that we use, and we now have a specified type that we find most useful for traffic rating. Be glad to provide a more detailed write-up in the weekly update. But to follow up with that, even manhole inserts are not going to address all of our challenges with infiltration and inflow. But obviously, the storm that we had in August, that peak storm rivaled in some parts of our system Matthew and Florence in terms of flow that we recorded.
Well, spikes for storms are usually inflow more than infiltration. Okay. Thanks.
But we do want to provide you and others with a more detailed summary of how we're trying to manage inflow with those manhole inserts and other things.
Thanks.
And on the growth report under key indicators, there had been discussion about including a way to measure multifamily housing on that a while ago. And you said that there was working on that a couple months ago.
And we still got work to do on that. But we'll take that feedback. I also wanted to take feedback. You know, the previous economic development growth report had a color system for on track, behind, or in danger. We removed that in this case, so you can just see a Gantt chart timeline. But I think I received some feedback from a board member who isn't here that they would like to see that come back. So you can look at the Gantt chart, but that doesn't necessarily tell you if we think it's getting off track, if it's being delayed. So is there a desire to have that part of the report returned? So if we put a yellow over a project, you know that there's some additional details that you may want to ask about at table.
Yeah.
Okay.
One director says yes. I think that'd be really helpful.
Okay, okay. And I'd heard that from another. And then what I'm hearing here is how can we quantify or help explain the relative growth of multifamily housing versus residential housing in one of our indicator reports here. And it might be most appropriate here.
Right, growth is down, obviously,
Right.
when you just look at meters installed, but that might not be the whole picture.
Right.
Because we know multifamily is growing.
Right.
So we might need more qualitative data to understand what types of meters those are.
Will do.
That was really where I was going.
Thank you. We'll take that feedback. I think I understand where we need to go, and I'll ask John McLean and Kevin Morris to meet with me on Friday or next week, and we'll refine that.
Can I ask another question? So I've been as a new board member doing my tours, and one thing I was surprised to learn about was that we have a large number of sewer grinders that are being installed. And I don't know, is that something that we should be monitoring or making the board aware of how many are proliferating? Because that seems to me like that's going to be potentially a large problem operationally at some point.
So in 2019-2020, our board chose to change our design standards to be inclusive of low-pressure sewer systems, which include individual grinder pumps at homes. I don't have an exact number of how many we have in place. I know that it's above 100, is what I recall. And we are having staff conversations about doing a business case around making sure that those particular customers, we are accurately capturing their individual costs to the system, and we probably will propose changes to the individual fees associated with those customers to accurately capture those costs. I also asked staff to give me a report on how we were notifying the new residents that they will have a grinder pump system, because that's a very different provision of service. We want to make sure that the people that buy these homes understand what they're buying into. And I'm waiting on a report back from staff on how those notices are provided.
I seem to remember when we discussed this, we talked a lot about making sure we weren't overexposed by doing this. And was it a geography reason?
Yeah, it's geographic in nature,
It has to do with
topography.
gravity and just different topology.
Yes.
But it's also like,
Topography.
but it's cost. I mean, really, it's cheaper for the developer, but like, customers hate it. I mean, like, my parents had this thing, and it's awful.
Yeah,
I mean,
we had a big
it-
discussion about it, and I know we,
Oh, yeah.
Nobody wants this in their house. mean,
but I don't think we
surprised
couldn't
it.
give service to them without it. Is that- I don't-
Yeah.
Grinders are standard in Washington. Every neighborhood, thousands and thousands and thousands. So we put them in. And, you know, when I was working with Carl Short, and I just asked John, what we're not doing is, I think our fees, because this was just, when we started this thing out, we talked about making sure that the neighborhood had all the right of ways. We weren't waiting on the HOA to do anything, because you were just setting yourself up for problems. Larry was here, that was his big deal. But, you know, when we started out, we had a vac truck and everything else, because when you do one grinder,
Yeah, I think that-
you're up to your neck in it. So we need to have the volume to make that a viable entity. However, when I was meeting Carl, the fees need to be, I don't look at it, they need to be higher. I mean, you gotta pay to play, and I go back again, if I was doing a subdivision, and the sewer was so deep, you said you need to put in a force main and make the builders put in grinders, and you don't need to put in deep gravity sewer, and all I gotta do is write a check. Where do I sign up? And then, pay a $300 fee for a grinder tank? I mean, I'm going to Brunswick County, when I finish here, and I'm gonna pay for a grinder tank, and I'm gonna write a check for $7,000. So it used to be 5, now it's 7.
Yeah.
That's just for the tank. I've already paid my impact fees. The house is, you know, it's got siding on it, that's what they wanted. For grinders, we need, that's a source of revenue that we need to be looking at.
We're aware of that,
I don't
and
believe it, but I thought we did way too low to begin with. But grinders, when we standardize them, and we, in Brunswick County, there was a big complaint about them to begin with. However, it is a nothing burger now, because it's all standardized, they maintain it, but the only thing is you need to make sure the homeowners are, because in the more affordable housing, not at Compass Point, not at, you know, not at River Landing, but in the more affordable housing, I think you can run into a problem with you having to finance the mechanical part of this, because there's going to be expense for these people who can't afford it.
Yeah.
So it's a can of worms, but I think the first thing is these. I mean, I don't want the builders to come down on me, but you know, it costs what it costs. If I'm a developer and you let me do grinder tanks, and I don't have to put in deep infrastructure all day long.
we'll bring back that's going to be part of the budget conversation. That was literally a conversation yesterday, and how we can ensure that when these systems go in, it's because they absolutely have to, because of topology, to support orderly growth, and that when they do go in, our customers who are going to be buying them understand what they're buying into, and that the system is self-supporting. And all of that, we're going to be working towards a report, and we'll probably roll it into the budget so you understand the program.
And know where best to.
Yeah.
And the scale of it, it's pretty
Scale.
limited at this point, right?
It is, but it will expand. We anticipate that program will grow probably significantly over the next 5 to 10 years.
As long as the cash flow is.
But it's also a sustainability issue, right? Think about it that way. Lots of people with paying their electricity bill, with taking care of their own grinders versus taking them through a system. So there's,
Tenant abuse, make sure there's no tenant.
well, no, but, you know,
The water hit.
there's indirect costs to the environment, even more sustainability.
Can we make sure we talk about that, because I don't know about that.
Ken, in this conversation too, it's always struck me since the very beginning that this has the potential of becoming a future, what we call orphan road situation that we've faced in the county, where private roads get put in, generally because the developers did not want to build to NCDOT, and you go forward, first it becomes the issue for the homeowners association over years and generations and shifting of people buying the house. That gets lost, and we flash forward 25, 30 years, and there's nobody to take care of that road. And the people legitimately say, hey, I can't even get an emergency vehicle to my house, and so it becomes an orphan road, and it's a huge issue. I see this low-pressure pump grinder system potentially going on that same path there as it gets put in, and people don't understand what it is that they are buying when you get into the multiple generations of the people that own that home. It sounds like that's kind of happening with your folks right now. So the issues with it, we need to get ahead of this,
Well,
as you're suggesting.
Was very adamant about this is not put on the HOA. This comes in from the development standpoint.
Mhm.
All the easements are in place for grinders, the location of the grinders, a lot of the issues probably the people who have had individual grinder tanks is just like they went through the process in Brunswick County. They lack standardization. Some builders would put in the cheapest of the cheap, cheapest of the pumps, and then, not gonna name names, but then there were problems. However, now, they come, our biggest problems come from one, Charlotte Electric, and they're all standardized. And the pumps are pressurized for that neighborhood back to the force main, so the pumps, everything is standardized. That helps with the maintenance and the longevity of the equipment. but access to the equipment, it's not left up to the developer, it's not left to the HOA, the CFPUA telling them, just like Brunswick County Public Utilities, where rates go, they tell us where the tanks go, they tell us where the alarms go, they tell us, how far from the house it can be wired, and they used to provide the tanks and the pumps, but you get them, and now we buy them, but we buy them the same specs, so that they're not the cheapest of the cheap.
No, but when your alarm goes off on a Sunday at 2 a.m., it's a major pain in the neck.
No, it is, and that's why we said, when we started this thing, they had called it, they had 5. You got a crew, and you got a back truck, you've already spent $500,000.
Yeah.
So that when that alarm goes off on the weekend, they're there to pump it out. I mean, you're up to your neck when you start out, even with one, because
Yeah.
it's sewer. You can't leave somebody hanging on the weekend just because you're a fledgling utility.
I wish that was true, Deans, and I only know through our own business, which is not a home, but a business where we have a pump grinder, that is not the response that we got. And it was me down the manhole in that particular case. Yeah, I know. It's okay. I respect my position here, and that's totally separate. That's an operational thing. It doesn't work that way in reality. I'm just saying. And over time, though, if we put the focus on it, maybe we can get better response, because this is clearly something of the future. Pump grinders are here.
All I'm saying is that, yes, there were all people from our clients coming from up north, all they knew was basements and sump pumps.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to have anything to do with it. And a lot of places in Hunter's Point, there was a break in the development where they would grind their pumps and there weren't. And certain builders were not, the salespeople weren't informing everybody like they should.
Yeah.
But now it's gotten better, but I think, we are 4 years into this thing, and Brunswick County is 15, 20 years into this thing.
Yeah.
There's gonna be lessons learned, but it's coming.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
If I might, let us as staff go ahead and we'll bring a item forward in long-range planning to provide an update on the program, descriptive of everything that is going on today, do some comparative analysis with our neighbors in Brunswick County who have over 15,000 of these. There's lessons learned from that we can then apply, and we'll make some recommendations as part of the budget for program improvement.
Terrific.
Moving on to fluoride presentation.
Hold on, I'm sorry, were you finished with your, on the key indicators? I just want, I know we talked about the growth issue here, but I just wanted, go a layer deeper in that. We saw with new meter installation, even though it's just a big number, actually a very low number, but it's 12-month low that's in there. So maybe when we get our color indicators there, it sounds like this was not an alarm bell at all, but or is it? We just don't have the color coding at this point. Is there any explanation behind a 12-month low on those new meter installations?
I don't have one. Why don't we direct staff to investigate and bring you back something in an update? Probably not by Friday, but in a future weekly update, we'll do an investigation.
On a more positive note, I noted on page 172, the turnovers and vacancies. Vacancy is the lowest in 12 months, and turnover is the lowest since March of this year. Those are two wonderful things. It says a lot about the organization and about the leadership at the top, as well as departmental. Sounds like we've got some very satisfied employees. So bravo, nice job.
And I'll direct from the podium. I'll ask John and Kevin to connect, and let's provide an update on the meter sets and generally where we stand in terms of our understanding of growth and where the growth is occurring for a future update before the meeting on the 8th, if we can accomplish it.
Okay, fluorides.
Now, in front of you, you also have a copy of the presentation. And I usually write a script for every presentation I do. I might not always follow it. In working through this script over the last couple of days, I realized there's far more information than I feel is appropriate to verbally express here at the podium. It'd be a 30 or 45-minute presentation if I did. So in the handouts, you have the highlighted areas where I intend to skip over, but there's plenty of good information there. And if you see something within that highlighted area that you feel like we need to dive deeper into, please just let me know in the slide number and we'll go to it. So at a previous meeting, our board asked for a proactive briefing on the topic of fluoride and ongoing public debate about drinking water fluoridation. And over the next 15 to 20 minutes, and I'm going to try to stick to that, we'll try to distill this rather complicated issue down into this presentation. Please feel free to stop me for clarification purposes. And again, in the highlighted areas, if you see something that I'm not covering in the actual verbal component of this, feel free to bring it up in terms of questions. So first, we'll briefly touch on the history of drinking water fluoridation, which has been steeped in debate from the very beginning. And then we'll tell you what we know about the health and economic benefits of fluoridation. We'll then flip the coin and discuss the potential health risks from excessive fluoride intake and the criticisms of adding fluoride to drinking water. Finally, we'll wrap up this presentation with a recent federal court ruling, which has reignited this long-running debate. In 1901, a dentist named Frederick McKay started investigating mysterious staining of teeth found in children in the community he served, which was Colorado Springs. The phenomenon was called Colorado brown stain. Children growing up were growing discolored teeth, and they were otherwise healthy and actively more resistant to decay, those teeth. Working with dental health experts across the nation over the next 27 years, Dr. McKay led a groundbreaking study that linked that discoloration and the strange phenomenon to local drinking water. It was eventually discovered that it was caused by high levels of naturally occurring fluoride, and the investigation revealed this paradoxical effect. At certain levels, fluoride caused staining of teeth, mottling, or discolored. But at lower levels, the fluoride provided beneficial impacts by preventing tooth decay, as noted by the decay-resistant nature of the mottled teeth. By 1942, the National Institutes of Health, which is the largest biomedical research agency in the world, had completed a study of 7,200 children ages 12 to 14 in 21 cities. All of those cities had naturally occurring fluoride. The study concluded that the children drinking water with up to 1 part per million of fluoride had fewer dental cavities. And slowly, very slowly, public health experts started calling for the intentional use of fluoride to prevent dental cavities. By 1949, more than 1 million Americans were receiving fluoridated tap water. And the cities who implemented fluoridation reported significant drops in childhood tooth decay. By 1950, the American Dental Association, U.S. Health Service, and the Association of State and Territorial Dental Directors all were officially endorsing fluoride and intentional fluoridation. By 1962, the federal drinking water standards were incorporated for fluoride with an optimal concentration of anywhere from 0.7 parts per million to 1.2 parts per million based on climate. In 1974, with the advent of the Safe Drinking Water Act, EPA clarified that, Congress clarified in the Safe Drinking Water Act that EPA could not require the addition of any substance to drinking water for the sole purpose of public health. What that did was it made it very clear that this decision of fluoridation rests with states. It's a states' rights issue. In 2015, reacting to new studies regarding public health benefits and risks, EPA standardized its recommendation for fluoridation to 0.7 parts per million nationwide. The latest information that we have available suggests that Almost 210 million Americans are now drinking fluoridated tap water. A little closer to home, the city of Charlotte became North Carolina's first utility to adopt community fluoridation in 1949. And 6 years later, the Wilmington City Council voted to begin fluoridation at the Sweeney Water Treatment Plant. Interestingly, the new Hanover County Water and Sewer District did not add fluoride to its tap water. After the creation of this body in 2009, our board chose to continue fluoridation and actually expand it to the Richardson Water Treatment Plant service area. From the latest data that we have available, approximately 7 million North Carolinians, including 95% of our customers, are receiving fluoridated water. Now, CFPUA adds fluoride at our treatment plants, the Sweeney facility and the Richardson facility, and the annual budget for fluoridation is approximately $70,000. That's an important number to remember. Fluoride is not added at the groundwater source Monterey Heights system, which serves the Monkey Junction area, although this water does contain minute amounts of fluoride originating from natural sources. CFPUA uses a liquid form of fluoride called hydrofluorosilicic acid. That's very common in use. When I started in the business 31 years ago, that was the fluoride chemical as a water plant operator that I used and managed. And we work very hard to maintain levels at or near the 0.7 part per million federally recommended optimized level. Now, our fluoridation program is relatively inexpensive per customer, about 35 cents per customer per year, but it does present some operational challenges. The first is the interconnection challenges between a fluoridated and non-fluoridated system. We do plan on connecting the Monterey Heights system to the larger Sweeney-Richardson system. And when we do that, we are required by law to provide extensive notice to the Monterey Heights customers, letting them know that we're switching them from non-fluoridated water to fluoridated water. The same is true for our current and future customers at the town of Wrightsville Beach. Now, the second challenge that we have is the possibility of an accident. In the early morning of April 25th, 2018, we had to issue a do not drink alert for the Richardson water system because we discovered high levels of fluoride in the treated water from Richardson. This condition was believed to have stemmed from an equipment malfunction coupled with human error, and we were able to return to normal operations at 10 a.m. But we did not resume fluoridation at that facility until January 2020, until we had taken very extensive corrective actions to mechanically ensure that we would not have a similar accident. Now, although it's now extremely unlikely, it's still theoretically possible that we could have a fluoride accident in the future that exposes staff or the public to higher doses of fluoride. So those are two of the operational challenges. So how does fluoride protect against tooth decay? Bacteria in the mouth produces acid, which dissolves minerals in the tooth surfaces, making them susceptible to cavities. Fluoride replaces lost minerals and makes the teeth more resistant to decay. It also reduces the acid, possibly, and may make it more difficult for the bacteria to cling to teeth. According to the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the combination of fluoridated water and fluoride toothpaste provides greater protection than either alone. Fluoride toothpaste applies a greater concentration of fluoride at crucial times to the surfaces, and fluoridated water ensures a low level of fluoride exposure in the mouth throughout the day. Now, while listing the benefits of drinking water fluoridation, data from the Centers for Disease Control suggests that residents in communities with fluoridated water have 25% fewer cavities than those from communities that do not. And these are some pretty amazing numbers. I had to go back and work with Vaughn to double check these numbers from sources. The Center for Disease Control suggests that nationwide, that 25% reduction in cavities results in a $6.5 billion savings to those 210 million Americans who drink fluoridated water through direct and indirect dental treatment. So for 35 cents per day, we are providing our customers, using these same numbers, approximately $6 million in value and savings through direct and indirect reduction of dental costs. Now, let's assume that those numbers are wrong, that they're off by half. That's still $3 million. If they're off by a factor of 6, that's still $1 million of savings for $70,000 investment. That is not an argument for or against fluoridation. Those are just the numbers that we would provide to show one side of the debate.
Okay, if I may.
Yes.
Are there any studies that say that there's, I mean, is there any studies that have taken into account maybe the socioeconomic differences between communities that have fluoridated drinking water and communities that don't have any treated drinking water? I would assume that that has a lot to do with the dental health of the populace that's being studied. I guess 25% may not actually be all caused by the fluoridation of the water.
So that is part of the reasoned argument for those that are concerned about fluoridation that I'll pick up a little bit later. Vaughn and I have looked at a number of abstracts. We haven't dived deep into the studies themselves that suggest that this impact has there is a greater impact in at-risk communities, folks that are on the lower income scale, for example, that fluoridation and the combination of fluoride in brushing their teeth and drinking low levels of fluoride water have a greater impact. Does that answer your question?
For now, yeah, thank you.
Yes. Again, as staff, I'm going to spoil my own ender. We're agnostic on this process. This is a public health decision and a board policy. Moving on.
Ken?
Yes, sir.
Just, for someone who may be listening to this, none of the people who live in New Hanover County who are on wells have fluoride treatment in their water, correct?
That's right.
Unless it's naturally occurring in their groundwater.
There's minute amounts.
That's the second half of our question.
Yes.
Have we tested well water here in New Hanover County? Does it have fluoride in it?
Very minute amounts. From memory, please forgive imperfect memory, it's somewhere along the lines of 0.1, 0.2 parts per million. It's very, very low on the lower end of the detectability scale, but it is there. It's minute.
I get you. What's a little confusing, though, is that I don't think our county is radically different than a lot of counties where you have a municipal water source and not, yet the numbers that you put together about teeth decay or tooth decay are collective of the entire population. So it's not really studying, it's not a one-for-one. You can't say if you have fluoride in your community, only part of it, yet you're surveying the entire community saying it is, how does it impact, or what is the impact?
So I'll go back to this slide here. There was a number of studies in the 40s and 50s between communities that had naturally occurring fluoride and communities that did not, including that research groundbreaking study of 7,200 students. And there seems to be a pretty strong record that children of various ages drinking fluoridated water had fewer cavities. Now, what has changed between now and then is there's certainly more sources of fluoride, which we'll talk about when we talk about the risk and the positions of those that are opposed to public fluoridation later on in my presentation. It's coming right up.
I would add to it that our ability to test and the accuracy of testing has come a long way in the last 85 years as well.
That is an accurate statement.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We agree with that. So agencies and entities that continue to endorse drinking water and fluoridation as recently as the last few months include the American Dental Association, the North Carolina chapter of that association, the Centers for Disease Control, the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, North Carolina's Department of Health and Human Resources, and the American Waterworks Association. So now we will move to the other side of the debate. Because we've talked about the benefits, let's talk about the challenges. There are known health risks associated with excessive fluoride intake, including dental fluorosis, which is the mottling and pitting of teeth. I know that's not what you see today, but as a child, I had dental fluorosis. That was one of the things that was characteristic of me as a child. Too much fluoride intake can lead to skeletal fluorosis, the effects of which can be osteoporosis, joint pain, calcification of tendons, and ligaments. Some studies have associated lower IQ in infants exposed to levels of 1.5 parts per million or higher, which is double the 0.7 part per million target dose that we provide. And acute fluoride toxicity can occur from accidental ingestion of high doses of fluoride. In the highlighted sections, I give you some what some of those doses are and what are some of the effects. Opposition to fluoride from public water supplies started soon after its inception. Some of these are silly and some of these are well-grounded in concerns. For example, during the Red Scare of the 1940s and 50s, some asserted that fluoridation was a communist plot to make Americans more pliant and vulnerable to takeover. And it was a theme of one of my favorite movies, Dr. Strangelove. Early concerns arose from the impressions that fluoride actually was an industrial waste product of phosphate rock processing and an active ingredient in pesticides and rodicides, both of which are true to a point. It is true that fluoride that we use in public water supplies, the hydrofluorosilicic acid, is a byproduct of industrial phosphate production. But it's not completely accurate to call it a waste product because the raw byproduct then undergoes further purification processes and thus is specifically manufactured and tested for water treatment purposes, ensuring it meets public health requirements. Fluoride additives must comply with rigorous quality and safety standards set by the National Sanitation Foundation and the American National Standards Institute. It also is true that fluoride at very high doses is an active ingredient in certain pesticides and rodicides. In humans, this can be a source of acute fluoride toxicity if accidentally ingested. The fluoride concentrations for pesticides and rodicides, however, are anywhere from hundreds to thousands of times higher than the amount used in drinking water fluoridation. More recent criticisms of water fluoridation include the reality that supplemental fluoridation is now available from a variety of sources, particularly fluoride, toothpaste, and mouth rinses, the point that Councilman Waddell made. And that the FDA, another point of contention, also a valid point, is the FDA regulates fluoride as a drug. And when we add it to water supplies, that violates the medical concept of informed consent. Those are the two strongest arguments that have been used to date, both of which are well-founded. That is one of the arguments that we hear, and again, these are well-founded. It's not possible to perfectly control fluoride dosing at water plants or regulate the intake of fluoride in drinking water. We do a very good job of it, but there's always the risk of an accident. And of course, the people have other sources of fluoride exposure besides the low level of fluoride exposure that we have in our drinking water. So that it's exacerbated by contributions from other sources such as toothpaste and foods. Foods that are processed using drinking water that has fluoride then themselves have fluoride content, for example. Chicken nuggets is one of the more famous examples. It is also true that fluoridation is not universally practiced in developed communities. For example, in Europe, Ireland and certain regions of the UK and Spain are the only places that add fluoride to public water supplies. Finally, concerns arise because there are studies, including a recent monograph from the National Toxicology Program at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Resources, that have shown neurotoxic, nephrotoxic, and other adverse effects of fluoride intake at doses that are double or higher of what we provide in drinking water. Now, a monograph is a comprehensive peer-reviewed scientific document produced by that organization to assess and summarize evidence regarding potential health impacts. Now, that monograph, finalized in the summer of 2024, has reignited this public debate around tap water fluoridation. A handful of North Carolina communities have revisited fluoridation policies at the urging of vocal anti-fluoride advocates. At least one, Union County, has decided to end fluoridation. And at the state level, Session Law 2024-1 requires the North Carolina Secretary's Scientific Advisory Board to evaluate the monograph and determine if evidence supports a link between public water supply fluoridation and cognitive harm in children, and whether the current standards that North Carolina has are health protective. As recently as December 4th, and Vaughn and I were observing of this meeting, the Secretary's Scientific Advisory Board met and were briefed on the progress of NCDHHS to fulfill the commitments required under this general statute. And they're awaiting a 2025 release of metadata analysis from that research associated with the monograph to provide further progress on meeting the General Assembly's challenge or charge to evaluate this problem. We'd also note that a recent court decision in federal court for the Northern District of California regarding fluoridation has come out. And in that case, plaintiffs sought EPA review of fluoride under the revised National Toxic Substance Control Act, or TSCA, which is the ultimate goal, with the ultimate goal of banning fluoride in drinking water. EPA denied the review and the plaintiffs sued, and on September 24th of this year, a federal judge in that case ruled in favor of the plaintiffs. It's important to note that the judge in the case did not conclude with certainty that fluoride in drinking water was injurious to public health or to order a specific regulation. Instead, the judge charged EPA to evaluate fluoride under TSCA. So as you can imagine, this court ruling sparked interest in the long-running debate and gained some attention from national and local news sources. Fluoride proponents have strongly criticized the September court case and reiterated their support for fluoridation as a safe and effective program at the federal levels. The American Dental Association went so far as to say the ruling provided no scientific basis, warranting a change in its staunch support of fluoridation. Now, on the other side of the debate, lawmakers in Georgia, Kentucky, and Nebraska have filed bills reversing mandatory fluoridation in those states. And the Florida Surgeon General has called for the end of public drinking water fluoridation. So the debate continues. And all of that, for the public's good watching this presentation, is to say, what are staff's conclusions on this debate? As Dr. Frederick McKay, who is pictured here, discovered, there is evidence that is conclusive that fluoride has positive impacts on dental health that can be quantified. The evidence suggests that fluoridation reduces cavities by 25% and could save customers millions of dollars in direct and indirect dental costs. Certainly open to debate. But it's also clear that there are many sources of fluoride that now provide that same benefit, and it's unclear to us as staff how big a role tap water fluoridation now plays in the community benefit. Evidence is also inconclusive on the negative health impacts of fluoridation at this time, but North Carolina state health experts have been charged by the General Assembly to determine whether the evidence supports a link between public water supply fluoridation and cognitive harm in children, and whether the current standards in North Carolina are health protective. We will be following that entire work very closely and reporting back to you on it. Are there any questions?
Just an observation. I was born in 1948, and every time you went to the dentist, you had 2 or 3 cavities. And we brushed our teeth at least once a day as a child. You would tell your mother a lie and said you did, but we practiced that. And then when fluoridation started in Wilmington, the city, we lived in the city and had municipal water. Wasn't overnight, but I mean, it was a big deal to come out of the dentist's office and say, I got no cavities. And then, of course, later on in your presentation, Crest came out with the fluoride toothpaste, and cavities all but went out of style. So, you know, the overall benefits, to me personally, far exceeded. And of course, we didn't know about any potential dangers. I don't know that they marched that out when they presented fluoride to us. But I hope the people that are dead set against this will be as verbal and supportive of removing preservatives from our food when that gets marched out, because that's killing people. Visiting.
Ken, other than the perceived community health benefits that fluoridation of the water provides, does it have any net benefit to our organization or how our water is treated? It's just it costs us $70,000 a year to purchase and put it in the water, and we do that as a perceived health benefit to the community.
That's right. That's a fair and accurate assessment of why we do that.
I mean, I'm sure there'll be more discussion on this, and I don't know how much we intend to go down the rabbit hole. To me, it's not worth the risk to continue putting it in the water. It's not something that I'm a proponent of, and call me tinfoil hat, but I don't let my 2-year-old son drink water that has, that I know has fluoride in it now. And I asked my wife while we're pregnant with our second son not to drink water that has fluoride in it. And that's decision that we make as a family that has added cost to our family. And that's over research I've done, and I appreciate all the staff work that's gone into this. If there was a specific action item to be taken at some point, we have a new board member coming on in the not too distant future, one of Commissioner Zappel's associates. What's that look like? Is that actually an item on the agenda that we actually discuss whether or not we intend to continue? Does that need to be brought forward by a board member? How does that look?
That would need to be brought forward by a board member because it was the decision of this board in 2009 to continue fluoridation. And in fact, we actually have an agenda item that has been pulled, and we as staff need direction on that agenda item. We do need to renew the contract for fluoridation. Now, that does not lock this organization into adding fluoride for the next year. The board could choose the following month to end fluoridation. But as long as we have that directive, we do need to renew the contract.
What's the timeline on renewing that specific contract that I pulled earlier?
No, we pulled the whole item.
I know we pulled the whole item, but
Yes,
I
the
did reference whether or not we should.
January 1, you'll not have another meeting between now and when the contract expires.
And that's purchasing our entire year's supply, the
No,
$70,000?
As needed.
It's an as-needed contract.
There's no guarantee that we use the full amount.
Yeah.
So say there was some board action to reverse our position in February, we would just stop purchasing at that point?
Cancel the contract. That's right.
Okay.
Ken, it seems to me we're in a unique situation where we have not quite half our county on fluoride water, municipal water.
95%, not half.
Yeah, 95% of our
95% of
customers,
our-
which is,
No, I know our customers, but of the 237,000 people in New Hanover County, if we use that as basically as a base study, I say roughly half of those people who live here do not drink CFPUA water. They drink well water or come from another source. And I don't know about where Aqua and where they fall in this conversation. I'm saying, are you aware of any studies that would show between the two population groups as to benefits, negatives?
not to New Hanover County.
It does, but there was the 25% who, the first bullet point here, was residents in communities with fluoridated drinking water have 25% fewer cavities.
There are
That's the
literally
CF
thousands of
that's the
studies
CFPUA
like this across the country and across the world. There's tons of data out there.
Yeah, there is a great deal of data to support the conclusion that adding fluoride does reduce cavities. And approximately, if it's 95% of our customers, my very poor math works out to be about 190,000 New Hanover County residents. And remember, those that live and drink well water are probably also working or going to school, sourced from our water. So a large number of those county residents that don't have it in their private wells probably are drinking it as part of day-to-day activities.
Here's something I just pulled off an NBC report. This is Nash County, North Carolina, and this is Ashe County, North Carolina. And they have similar levels of poverty and income. And this is tooth decay in the place where they don't fluoridate, they use mostly wells, and here's tooth decay, or vice versa. This is fluoridated water, this is unfluoridated water. I mean, that's pretty local. That's western North Carolina.
Sorry, I can't see accurately. What do the numbers say?
Tooth decay, 52% no fluoride, 30% where you get fluoride. And that's tooth decay in little kids.
So about a 20% drop.
Yeah, well, more than that, but yeah.
I think the thing that's out there
That's a 40% drop, but anyway. go ahead.
40, I thought you said 50.
Yeah, because 52 to 31. So,
Any study on
this
the
is about
IQs?
40% of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. There's tons of data out there like that.
Yeah, I think the one that's out there is what Luke just said, that doesn't, has to do with the potential of the lower IQ in infants exposed to fluoridated water.
To high fluoridated, not to the
Okay,
recommended
yeah.
levels, to more than 1.5.
I think that opens the door to that conversation, and that's the one that, catches a lot of people's eyes. And we don't have a lot of information about that, am I right? I mean, do we have, tests?
We can bring back more in-depth research. As staff, again, I'd like to repeat that we're agnostic on this practice.
Yeah.
It is a true public health policy decision made by this board, and this board can end it or reaffirm it. We do know that the General Assembly has asked the state's scientific advisory board, which was created for the purpose of looking at topics like this, contaminants of emerging concern, and reevaluating existing contaminants. And that body will be required by law to report back to the General Assembly on their recommendations. We're following that.
And then the EPA is going to potentially respond to that court issue
They will.
in January
They will.
of 2025. So they're going to weigh in on this.
Good.
And this is one judge finding based on one meta-analysis. I mean, and again, first do no harm. If we're reducing IQ points, because kids are now not just getting fluoride in their water, they're getting it in their toothpaste and they're getting it in. So, but I would imagine that we should look to the federal and state authorities on this. We're not really a scientific body, much as we like to think of ourselves as being smart. We're not really a scientific body. I would defer to the EPA and the CDC and the American Medical Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American Dental Association, see where they come down on it.
Yeah, I would agree with Dr. Kane. I'm no scientist. With regards to the informed consent position, I mean, how do we continually, if we do continue with this practice, which I object to, how do we make sure that our customers are notified that we are putting this in their drinking water, and we will continue to do so?
It's a point of information in the consumer confidence report that we do every year to our customers.
When does that go out?
Please remind me.
Generally March.
March timeframe. Right, and that law, that federal code recently changed, and we're going to have to produce that and put it out twice a year instead of once a year.
How large is that? I haven't read it, obviously. How large is that publication?
It includes all of the information regarding what we know about the quality and quantity of our water.
Okay.
And we, of course, we welcome guidance from this board on how we might further and better educate our community on any of these topics.
I understand it's a little bit of a divisive topic, and it's a bit uncomfortable. So I appreciate you and staff kind of putting this together at the request of Commissioner Zappel and myself. I'm sure I'll have some more thoughts on it at some point in the future, but I don't intend to, derail conversations, or hold up this board meeting personally.
All right, we're going to move on then. So we need to go back to the consent item G, which was a request for sourcing contracts for the, I need to get my mouse back up to that. Item G was water and wastewater chemical contract reports and renewals, so I need a motion to approve that item. Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, so the item passes. All right, moving on to committee reports. The executive committee met last week. We do need to formally approve the 2025 meeting dates. That list is in your packet. So these meeting dates are our normal second Wednesday of every month. We're keeping the schedule as is. So can I get a motion to approve the 2025 proposed meeting dates?
So moved. Second.
Yep.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, long range planning committee.
At 12:04, we had a presentation regarding value engineering for the Southside Water Treatment Plant and strategies to potentially cut the estimated construction costs. We directed staff to arrange for a board workshop after next month's meeting, so that will be set up accordingly. And we also reviewed a schedule summary of the all the ongoing CIP projects in the northern and southern part of the county.
We would note that we are planning a workshop after this regular meeting on the 8th. We'll be providing lunch, and the workshop will be centered around the validation and value engineering activities of the Southside Wastewater Treatment Plant. Our goal, which is not necessarily something you have to do, but our goal is to walk out of that meeting with a clear, approved plan on what we will build together, and return the design to our design build team to get back on track.
Is it expected that the new board member will be in place then? Because I think it will be important.
When is it?
Yeah, when
When is that?
We're expecting that for
when's the
January.
other commission?
At our board meeting, oh,
Yes.
Should.
We will have
Next
a
week.
meeting.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be here today.
All right,
Yeah,
moving on
but-
to finance committee.
No, we have to do
Since
that.
he hasn't
So,
been appointed.
Since,
yeah, that's right. It'll be-
Mr. Corder's not here, the finance
After
committee
Monday,
met
he will.
last,
Yeah,
December 4th, those meetings are in your
he should have been
packet.
here today.
You have a
Probably.
monthly
Yeah,
financial
just to get
Just
some.
very, very briefly. Morning, just want to walk through a couple of things very, very quickly. So this is a look at our different fund balance categories, right? And that green shaded area is our unassigned. Of course, our target is $50 million. So what you see at the beginning of each year is you'll see this kind of downward movement right here. And what that represents is our entire pay-go transfer. So the amount of current year revenues that we're spinning off to the capital projects funds gets done at the very first of the fiscal year. So that drops, and then you'll see this continue to go up throughout the year. Now, to the extent that it doesn't go back up to that $50 million is driven by whether we have a deficit or a surplus, right? So if you'll remember last year, we ended with about a $3.9 million deficit. That was mostly driven by spending of pay-go capital funded projects that exceeded the amount of pay-go funding that we had actually transferred over to the capital funds. And that was due to us going ahead and pay-go funding, advance funding several projects that we always knew that we were going to debt fund, right? So, and I'll get into the bond issuance in a second, but once we issue those bonds, a lot of that will go away. For this year, we still are experiencing some of those revenue challenges, right? We talked about SDCs and also on the retail rate side. Not really driven by the number of customers, but more by the consumption per customer. So we're continuing to monitor that. We will factor those recent trends in our rate development and our budget development for this next year, FY26. We have already started to kind of carve out some areas where we see some savings or some potential savings in our budget this year. So for example, we've carved out around $800,000 of lapsed salaries to date. The intent of that is to kind of, park that aside. We'll, accumulate those budgetary savings, and we can take a budget ordinance to this board to actually reduce the budget by that amount and, reduce the estimated revenues, to kind of adjust it to, those original budget figures down to, or closer to where reality is, right? So speaking of the bond issuance, we are working on that. We've talked to LGC. We are penciled in for a preliminary sale date of March the 20th. We have engaged Ms. Hudson to participate in that process, to leverage her experience in municipal debt issuance. We'll need to do a feasibility study, and that's in the works, and engage with S&P and Moody's. We've scheduled those meetings as well. As far as board action goes, there will be a preliminary findings resolution coming to this body in January, and then the next step in February will be the actual bond order. So just giving you a heads up there. And that's all I got. Any questions?
Those conversations with the LGC and staff, I know there's a lot of informal discussion. Any red flags, any hurdles coming from their side at this point?
None at this point. So we've done a pretty good job, over the past year or so, engaging the LGC staff on kind of what we're facing, and especially Southside. So this bond issuance is not going to cover any of Southside, but that certainly is, and will be factored into that feasibility study, which normally has a 5-year window. It projects out 5 years. So this issuance is obviously in the context of us doing a much larger issue in probably 2 or 3 years, maybe sooner.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thanks.
Thank you, John. All right, no other questions for finance for sustainability?
No report.
Okay, the HR committee met, we met after the last board meeting on the 12th of November, November 8th. We reviewed the policy updates that have an effective date of January 1st of 2025. We also reviewed the IEB survey and discuss next steps, and the minutes, policies, and surveys are all in the board packet for review. So, questions for HR committee?
What were your overall thoughts on the survey debrief, and where were we generally?
Shannon, do you want to give an update on the overall survey results, just in general? Is she still here? She's done. Oh, she's done now.
I'll be glad to give you my personal impressions. The survey was broken into 2 areas. One is a Lightner scale where you're choosing from 1 to 5 how you feel about the question. We had about 35 of those questions. And from the Lightner scale component, it seemed very much in line with what we've seen with the city, the county, other local governments. There was a group that I think had trepidation about proceeding. There was a group that were very excited about proceeding, and then there was probably a majority of staff that were going to be cautiously optimistic and wait and see how things unfold. In the written comments, this is again just my impression. I think I saw about 20% of our staff that were concerned about where this training could go, and they wanted to make sure that we were not going to be creating processes and policies that left meritocracy as a standard and went to something else. There's about 20% of the staff that were very excited that we were addressing organizational cultural issues, and the 60% in the middle were focused on workforce development. They wanted more, and they were thankful for what they were getting. So that's my read of it.
I want to say that something that really made me proud, just as a board member, is question 19: racial, ethnic, sexual, and gender-based jokes, slurs, bullying of any kind not tolerated on my team. That was like the highest weighted average, I think, of almost any question that we received. So it's just, there's no place for that. It seems like we were a professional organization. Testament to you, Ken, and the team you have. So So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the feedback as you see it.
Well, I'd like to give reassurance that we are trying to continue this project as we think the board would have us do that, and focus on those areas which are most helpful for the culture, without diving into some of the more controversial topics.
All right, with that, any, go ahead, Rob.
Sorry, Jack. but,
She's ready to be done.
See that?
Yeah, I hear you. Likewise, too. The basic number we were floating with was about 229 respondents. Does that sound right? Which represents, percentage-wise, how much of our workforce?
We got 340 authorized positions, and we have anywhere from 12 to 25 vacancies at any time.
Yeah.
So it's a substantial part of the workforce, 2/3.
Well, more
or
than
more.
50%.
Yeah, that's a good response rate.
Yeah, no, I
That's really good.
just wanted to double, but I know it seemed to be heavily weighted with engineering and treatments. Is that,
That was just the percentage of that group that responded.
just wondering who's answering the questions, because that, makes some difference. Between customer service and engineering and treatment, that's 20, 60, almost 70% of the respondents. Does that represent the employees that work in our organization?
Well, you may recall that we're also doing focus groups. So there's an entire report that's due to this body. And this is just the first reportable of that work. We have focus groups, which are intentionally looking at groups that maybe weren't as representative in the survey. And then you'll have a complete review of all of our policies and procedures. So when that report comes out, I think you will see a more balanced response of everybody.
I don't know that this is unbalanced. I don't know the breakdown within the 300 plus that you mentioned. Does 70% of that 300 plus work in customer service and engineering?
I would have to defer to Shannon, because I'm having problems bringing up that presentation. But it did not appear to me that it was overly weighted to one part of the organization or the other.
I wanted to know. Great, thanks.
But we'll actually receive, what you're saying, Ken, is a more detailed, full report that we actually have a presentation on, not just kind of a, included in, and we're moving towards the end.
Yeah.
I look forward to
Yep.
it.
Thanks.
All right, any old business to come forth, Authority? Any other closing comments? We have nothing for closed session. With that, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Have a happy holidays, everybody, however you celebrate. See you in January.
Yeah.